Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Language Lab class. In Language Lab class, we are discussing various uh, aspects of language. Like we are discussing the basic grammars, as language is all about grammar. So we are discussing grammars of English language. We are dealing with English language only. So today we will discuss about voice change. What is voice change? How many types of voice changes are there? We will discuss all this. The voice change is not the tone change. Don't think that it's related to like changing your voice you are speaking about. But voice is like how you are speaking. We can like represent one sentence like 2-3 manner. So that is voice change. So I will share my screen with you and we will learn about voice change. So what is voice in grammar? Voice is the term used to describe whether a verb is active or passive. So in other words, when the subject of the verb is doing the action of the verb is said to be in the active voice, and when the subject of the verb is being acted upon, the verb is said to be in the passive voice. So the voice of a verb tells us whether the subject is acting or being acted upon. So I told you that it's all about the way we are speaking. It's all about the verb. So in active voice, that like there is some action uh, on the verb, and in passive voice, the subject of the verb is being acted upon. Now, what is active voice? Active voice means if the subject is performing the action, then the verb is said to be in the active voice. Look at this. Active voice, subject, active verb, and the object. Subject is the dog, verb is ate, our turkey is the object. When we are speaking in this manner, the dog ate our turkey, this is active voice. What is passive voice? If the subject is having the action done to it, then the verb is said to be in the passive voice. Like passive voice, our turkey was eaten by the dog. Our turkey is the subject, was eaten is the passive verb, by the dog is the object. So our turkey is the subject, and in the previous sentence, ate is in past tense. So was eaten by the dog. Easy examples of voice. Here are some more examples of verbs in the active voice. So there are some examples. See, Lee ate the pies. Obviously, this is active voice because Lee is the subject, ate is the verb, and the pies are the object. We play hopscotch. We is the subject, play is the verb, and hopscotch is the object. The sharks is the subject of the okay. The sharks will attack the cage. The sharks is the subject. Uh, Subject is doing the action of the verb, and the cage is the object. So here are some more examples of verbs in the passive voice, like the pies were written by Lee. The pies is the subject of the verb. Hopscotch is played by us. The cage will be attacked by the sharks. These are passive voice. Here, the object has become in the place of the subject, and according to the tense and like person, we have to add was, where, and it the past participle form of the verb, and then you have to add by, and then you have to put ly, like the object. There's some real life example of voice. In the example above, the action of the verbs are obvious physical activities. So to remember though that not all verbs describe such obvious activities. So this is particularly true for verbs in the active voice. The verbs in the four examples are all in the active voice. So there are some verbs which does not describe some obvious activities, like I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king and the king of England too. Here you cannot change the voice. That is not any obvious activity. The voice of Mickey Mouse and the voice of Minnie Mouse became husband and wife in real life. So it is, you also cannot change it. Only a quarter of the Sahara desert is sandy. So there is also not any obvious activity, you cannot change it. Here are some verbs in the passive voice with less obvious actions. At one time, Melbourne was known as Batmania. Philosophy was considered science once. Only a verb that acts on something else, like I'm written in the passive voice. More people are killed taking selfies than in shark attacks. So to kill is a transitive verb, and that is you kill something. So transitive verb has some object. So there are some verbs which do not have any object and you cannot change that, like change the voice. So if a verb is transitive, intransitive, it will always be the active voice. So being English, I always laugh at anything about the lavatory or bottoms. To laugh is an intransitive verb. You can't laugh a dog. Anybody who smiles automatically looks better. To smile and to look are intransitive verbs, like you can't smile a dog or look a dog. Our noses and ears grow throughout our lives. Other common intransitive verbs are to cry, to die, to disappear, and to wait. Remember that these cannot be used in the passive voice, as intransitive verbs don't act on something. There is nothing to become the subject of a verb. Like I grew tomatoes. Here there is some like object. So tomatoes were grown by me. This is passive version. The beanstalk grew quickly. Here to grow means to get bigger. So in this meaning, it is intransitive. That means we can't make it passive. Here is something else to look out for. It is extremely common for verbs in the active voice and the passive voice to be used afterwards, like can, cannot, may, might, must, should. He who is to be a good ruler must have been ruled. Which dog died? What you are asking? I cannot understand. The dog was died is not any passive voice. You can tell the dog was killed by someone, but not died by someone. So it is common for verbs in the active voice and passive voice to appear in the same sentence. So Theodore Roosevelt owned a pet hyena which was given to him by an Ethiopian emperor. So owned is in the active voice, was given in the passive voice. So my music considered uncool, but I always felt a connection with the audience. So is in the active voice and have been killed in the passive voice. Why voices grammar is so important? Because there are four good reasons to care about grammatical words. So the active voice offers some great benefits. Like writers tend to opt for the active voice over the passive voice for the following reasons. The active voice is more succinct. The active voice is more direct. The active voice is more informative. The active voice is more authoritative and it is more engaging. Obviously, we generally speak in active voice. We do not use passive voice. So the active voice is more succinct, it is more direct, it is more informative, it is more authoritative, and it is more engaging. The passive voice offers some great benefits. Here are four benefits of the passive voice. The passive voice can be used to avoid blame. The passive voice shows a neutral or objective tone. The passive voice is often appropriate when the doer of the verb is obvious, unimportant, or unknown. The passive voice allows you to focus on what's important by bringing it to the front of your sentences. So generally we don't use passive voice, but there are some reasons also there. Use both the active and passive voice as required. Sometimes we have to use both active and passive in sentences. Like even though the passive voice has its benefits, the bias for the active voice is so strong that proofreaders and grammar checkers will often try to correct the passive construction to an active one. Have the confidence to ignore your grammar checker. Use the active voice and passive voice as required to control the flow of the text and to stress the most important parts of your sentences. Okay, look at the sentences written in active voice. King John signed the Magna Carta in 1215. He placed limits on his powers and proclaimed certain liberties. Now compare the mixed sentences telling the same information. In 1215, Magna Carta was signed by King John. He placed his limits on his powers and proclaimed certain liberties. Same thing, but the second one sounds good. There are two important things happening in our second example. First, we have made the Magna Carta the subject of the sentence to highlight what we are talking about. Second, we have ended our sentence with King John. As the first word of the sentence is he, our text now flows smoothly. So what we discussed two types of voice. Active voice structure is this: subject, verb, object. Passive voice structure is this: object will become subject, then verb, then object. So we discuss some examples, and we also discuss that you cannot change the voice if it is not if there is no transitive verb. Now I will tell you some structure or tense which you need to follow. So active voice is subject plus verb plus object, and in passive the object will become the subject, then be verb plus past participle form, then the object, then by, and then the object. So in simple present tense, suppose he makes pot. Simple present tense. So pot is the object. So pot will come at the beginning, pot, As it is singular, is will come. Pot is made by. He will become him. So we have put is as it is simple present and singular, pot is singular. So we have put is, then participle form made, made. In present continuous, so he is making pots. So in passive, it will, pots will come in the place of subjects. Pots are, will come here because pots are plural. Then being made. So in continuous, you have to put is or are and then being and made by him. So in present perfect, the structure is subject plus has or have plus been plus participle form plus object. Like he has made the pots. So it will become pots have been made by him. Okay. So we have discussed simple present, present continuous, and also present perfect. Since simple present is or are plus the past participle form, present continuous is or are plus being plus past participle form. In present perfect has or have plus been plus participle form. Now if it is past tense, you have to put was or were in the place of is and are plus past participle form. Past continuous also same, was or were plus being plus past participle form. Past perfect also same, but in past tense singular plural, we have to put only had. So had will come and you have to put the past participle form. So future tense also same, just you have to put will or shall, whatever it will come in the question. So we have discussed the basic rules. We have also discussed how many tenses. Now we have to practice. So next class we'll practice some. Thank you for your attention. We'll meet in the next class.